All right, we'll be careful on the electrodes now.
At the Monroe Institute in Virginia, Carol Sabick is preparing for a flight beyond her body.
Need to hook these wires up to the amplifier here. Okay, does that feel comfortable for you like that?
Yeah, I'm fine.
All right.
She's being launched by consciousness researcher Skip Atwater.
Okay, Carol, if you're ready now, I'm going to turn the lights out. And we're ready to begin. All right, Carol, everything is looking really, really good out here. I want you to continue to relax.
Skip Atwater is using sound and sensory deprivation to alter Carol's state of consciousness. Inside the Monroe Institute's cave-like isolation chamber, she can see nothing, feel nothing. Her only external stimulus comes from tones in her headphones. And that sound is doing something remarkable. The tones in Carol's ears are slightly out of phase, but they can't be equalized by turning her head. As a result, Carol's brain combines the sounds into a third tone, created from the difference between the original tones. This phenomenon is called binaural beating, and it's modifying Carol's brainwaves. Our state of consciousness is linked to brainwave activity, which can be measured by electroencephalograph or EEG. Carol's EEG shows strong activity below 7 cycles per second, known as theta and delta waves. These frequencies are usually associated with dreams and sleep, but Atwater says Carol's state is better described as body asleep, mind awake.
All those bright colors tell us we're getting lots of delta brain waves going on as she moves into her out-of-body experience. The states of allowing your mind to travel away from your body, or has been characterized by some as an out-of-body experience of this consciousness movement, is one that's characterized by this slow wave delta. So using the word sleep isn't really appropriate in this case, because our minds are not asleep. Our minds are open and awake to experience. All right, Carol, come on back now. Come on back to the booth here in the lab. It's time to be ending the session. You've been gone quite a while now. Come on back. That's better. I can see that you're back now. Very good. Well, welcome back. How was your experience?
Oh, well, I started out from here, sort of floating up through the roof of this to the ceiling, and I went up, out through the building, and I was looking at the building from up above. And then it was like I flew over the whole scenery here up to like a cabin that's up on the hill, and I was looking at the cabin from the outside. And then from there, I was out in space. All of a sudden, I felt this being come close to me, and I couldn't really see it. I could just sort of feel this energy.
There is information elsewhere. There is information beyond the limitations of the physical body, beyond the limitations of our 5 physical senses. And it is our mind that gives us access to those things. It is our very own thoughts. It is the essence of us, the soul of us, that allows us to know these things.
The truth is out there, and it begins with you. Welcome to the Cosmic Fold, where we talk high strangeness. Call us at 928-288-2942. That's 928-288-2942. Or join us by video. If you're at a computer, just look for the link in the chat. Buckle up, sit around our virtual campfire, and let's get started.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey there.
I'm sorry the sound quality on that old video, it's public domain, wasn't really good, but it's so interesting to me how different areas of the brain were shown to light up.
Yeah.
When she activated, I guess, the soul, because we were asking last time, is there a difference between the soul and the consciousness?
Right.
And like he was saying that, this was the soul that has access to this other information.
The mind.
And ironically,
Yeah.
unfortunately, it's a paid article, so I can't see for sure what it said. But just before the show started, a thing popped up in my news feed. And this is from Popular Mechanics. And they're saying consciousness formed before life itself. And scientists say that there's evidence in an asteroid sample.
That's a weird.
So that's why I was like, I got to read that. But of course, there's a paywall for like $35 to read the article.
Right. Wow.
So I'm going to dig around and see if I can find some studies about that, because how would they find evidence of consciousness on an asteroid?
I have no idea what that would even mean. That's really weird. That's an odd. That's odd. Bunch of things put together.
But on the other hand, though, it could support like what they were showing at the Monroe Institute, that, consciousness does have this ability to leave the body, or the soul does. Maybe your conscious soul's activity.
Yeah, I don't. That's the thing. That's the question, I think. Like consciousness, mind, soul, spirit. There's so many different words for it, and like, what's the difference, really? And kind of figuring that out is kind of hard, because I think it's spirit, soul kind of are the religious terminology for it, and mind is sort of the science-y kind of version of it, I think.
Right.
But is the mind the same as consciousness? Is the same as the soul? These questions. It's like, I don't know. It's a interesting question, like. Because even Robert Monroe, I read all of the books he wrote more than one time, actually, listened to him on tape like many times. He made a distinction between out-of-body experiences and like astral projection, like is what he did, and people who have near-death experiences. That's a kind. He seemed to think they were kind of different, although he did it enough that it's almost like his out-of-body experiences were kind of similar to near-death experiences. I think they can be sort of. I've had some out-of-body experiences. Have you had that experience, like sort of popped out of your body? They are kind of like, and he makes some. He kind of meticulously goes through the fact that in out-of-body experiences, it's not like you're in the physical realm. It's like you're in a different realm.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's sort of like the things will be slightly different. But when people have a near-death experience, it is not like that. It's like they're still, their consciousness pops out and everything is just how it is in real life. So there's something different between the two.
And maybe the difference for me was like the out-of-body experiences I've had, like one was intentional, using the binary things like what he was working with. Mm-hmm. And then a couple other ones were totally unintentional.
Right.
And in the near-death one, well, I've had 3 of them, but one where I was conscious of leaving the body and could look down and see the body. And it was more of a 360-degree awareness.
Absolutely.
And going out of the body for whatever those are, out-of-body experience was more, like three-dimensional, like what we have now, where I was aware of, seeing things, and I did not look down at my body at all.
Right.
So
Right.
there was no awareness of even being separated from the body in a way, where the near
Right.
death for me, there was definitely awareness of it because it was so expansive. And it was like the one I'm talking about was this car wreck that I had. And it was like I could see a lot of things all at the same time in like this 360 degree
Yes. Yes.
sort of thing.
Yes.
And
yeah,
thought,
but the astral projection or the out of body experiences, they're sort of more tied to your senses in body senses. Although I have had the experience where things seem more vivid in out of body experiences than they do in real life. So like really intense, like somebody said they were like 4K dreams or like, really just super realistic, but they are different. Like my out of body experience, there was an older lady in my room, like straightening up when I came out of my
really?
yeah.
Now, was it intentional? Was it an intentional thing for you or not?
Yeah, that time I popped out of my body on purpose. And when I got out, I was like, oh, hey. And I gave this lady a hug and I knew her somehow. And I was like, then I went outside and it was like a jungle. It was weird. It was like, it wasn't in this reality. It was like in a parallel reality kind of feeling, or like a different dimensional reality. It wasn't in the physical kind of reality, but I was conscious. I was totally conscious. So,
right.
Whereas when I came out of my body, when I had the drowning incident, it was totally like I was in the, I was 360, right? Like you said. Yeah. And then like I got saved. So I was hanging out over my body, having these conversations with people. And it seemed normal until then I came into my body and then I couldn't hear anything and my eyes were all messed up from the experience, from the sand and everything. And my nose was all impacted with sand. My ears were impacted. I couldn't hear a thing once I actually came in my body. So it did feel like it's a parallel experience, but it's not exactly the same. And that's an interesting thing too. Maybe that's because, your spirit really does leave your body when you die or you start to die. Whereas it's like your mind is projecting outward when you're in an out of body experience. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Have you had any of those, Bove, or?
Hell no. I'm sitting here and I'm going, holy crap. I haven't experienced any of this, and I feel like a kindergartner wanting to play with the 8th graders.
You should try the binaural beats.
Yeah, those are pretty.
Because some of those actually too are very healing for like physical stuff that may be going on. Just be careful who you're getting them from, because there's a lot of that all over the internet right now and on YouTube, and I don't trust those people.
I don't either. I don't know how real it is. Yeah, go to the Monroe Institute and get theirs because they sell them there. Yeah.
That video was very interesting and it looked very old. I wanted to say it looked like the 70s.
That's what I was thinking too.
I think it was. Yeah. And the sound, I didn't have time to mess with the sound last night and try to clean it up. So
it was fine. Yeah, I could hear it.
We could get the gist of what it was. But yeah, his binaural beats, and then who's it? Steve Halpern? Does he have? Is that who it is? I know I think that's who it is. I've done his, and they're pretty good.
I know that name.
Yeah, that does sound familiar.
And then there's my mother bought me one for my birthday, and they're called Wave Watches. And I don't have it with me right now, but it's like this. And this one does like a sound resonance thing. And so I'm prone to getting kidney stones. They're in this area. Mostly men get them, but some women. One woman I know.
Too.
Yeah. And it has something to do with the mineral content in the water and that kind of stuff. And when I feel those coming on, I just put on that Wave Watch thing. It's got a sound and it heals you through sound. And so I think that I think it does the same thing of activating certain areas of the brain. And so then, like we were talking about how watches stop on us and everything. Well, of course it stopped. But the company was so good, they sent me one like right away, a replacement one. It had even more programs in it. So I thought, well, I'll just play with this with the third eye. And oh my God, it was so insane that it was like I could hear people before they spoke. So it
Oh,
was like,
that's
I better
yeah.
turn. Yeah. So it's
I've
like, I
had that
gotta turn this.
experience. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
see Kathy there. I'll bring her in when we see her, or if she just wants, I don't know. Maybe she's just listening. So
What's the
just,
name of this thing that you're talking about? I want to write it down.
it's called a Wave Watch, WAV watch. And so it's a woman named Linda, and her company, they're kind of pricey, but I've definitely seen something. And if I get migraines, I'll use it, and it seems to help with the migraines too. So, and I think that it works on the same principle as these binaural things. You know, it's just the sound frequency kind of does something.
Right.
I don't know. So, but anyway, the first time I had a conscious, I think I had them as a kid, but as an adult, an out of body experience, my cat pulled me out, and it was
the cat?
strange. Yes. So I'm like floating in my bedroom, and the cat was there. Like, come on, let's go play.
Wow.
And so we
Wow.
just like floated out the house and just went around. I was living in a place called Cave Creek, north of Phoenix at that time. And we just like cruised around, and my cat was like showing me how to do it. So I think cats.
Wow. That's a cool cat. Oh, cats are really psychic. They're so crazy. Yeah, they really are.
And so I think that when they just like vegging out or whatever, I think they spend more time.
I've seen that. I've seen, yeah, they can project themselves. I know that sounds insane, but I have had, and some cats are better than, just like people are better than others, you know, but I used to have a cat that did that all the freaking time. He was like that. He was a really weird old soul cat. And I would swear I'd see him walking, like, you know, someplace, and I would look, and he'd be like over there sleeping. It's like he was obviously like getting out of his body, checking stuff out. It was pretty wild. Yeah.
I think they do that. I think probably all animals do to an extent, but cats are.
Cats are really,
but it was very interesting how this cat was like, and it was like, well, this is kind of cool, you know. And so it was very different from the near-death thing, which was, because it was just more like you know. So I was aware of the exact same physical surroundings, but it was from the astral plane, I guess, with the cat. It was very weird.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting. I've come out of my body a few times. Most of the time, it's not like I'm not trying to do it. You know, it's just happened to me from something pulling me out. And they've always been kind of profound experiences. But if I try to do it myself, it was just kind of just weird. You know what I mean? It was like the lady in my room, like straightening up. It was like, okay. You know, I was like, I don't know if it's really worth it. Or I went to, like, right before the war happened in Ukraine, which I kind of I'd been predicting on my YouTube channel. People were still like, oh, it's not going to happen.
And you were way ahead of everyone else on that. It was like,
and so I went ahead and just go, okay, I'm going to force myself to like project to, you know, the Ukraine. And it was like, it was bad. And it was like a big, giant, just dark, like people dying. And I got back, like I almost like hit this wall and came rushing back to my body. I'm like, okay, this is definitely happening. It's already in the astral plane that this is already happening, you know? So, and then a few days later, you know, it happened. So, but I knew it was coming for a long time, but that was my confirmation. Yeah.
You know, there was when I lived in Phoenix, it was very popular. What is it? The Book of Enoch? Is that what it's? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And it had the Merkabah and all this other stuff. Well, there was this guy, I won't say his name, that worked at the same law firm I did. And he was very interesting. He was like almost 7 feet tall, very tall.
Wow.
And
that's
he
crazy.
was always at the Mayo Clinic because he had 2 hearts, 2 sets of lungs.
What?
He should have been like a twin, but it was like never broke off.
That's wild.
He was like super psychic. And, you know,
was he a part alien? Was he a hybrid?
I don't know. We got along. We got along. He thought we both were. And so, anyway, he was, you know, that Merkabah thing, you could go in and it like spins and do whatever. And anyway, one morning I just woke up and I don't know why I was so mad at him. And it's like, why would I be mad at somebody just waking up for no reason whatsoever? And so I go to the office and I'm like, I don't know why, just kind of bothered that I was so angry with him. And then he comes to my office and he goes, I'm so sorry. And I said, for what? I said, I woke up really mad at you and I don't know why. And he goes, well, I was going out of my body and doing the Merkabah thing. And I went into a realm where I wasn't supposed to, and I was screaming for help. And you showed up, and you were really mad and ripped me out of there and were screaming at me saying, don't you ever do that again. That is so stupid. So apparently I had left my body to whatever realm that was to pull him out. And I had no conscious awareness of it other than waking up so mad at him. I mean, I was just furious. And he goes, oh, we'll never do that again. And then he ended up getting really sick because of it. And so he was always at the Mayo Clinic because of the, this stuff with the 2 hearts and everything. And,
right.
So then to make amends, we just went up to the White Mountains where we are now. And we ended up at this ranch. We got kind of lost. And it was called the Q Ranch. And they were having like a UFO conference there and everything. And they're just like, oh, we've been waiting for you guys. We got to be there for free and everything. And it was very strange. So he was an interesting person, but he was intentionally doing that out of body stuff. Right. And I think, whatever, because of his physical, whatever may have been easier for him to get it. I don't know.
It could be. Yeah. I mean, I find it like out of body stuff is like, I had this period where I think I told you about the weird black line in the sky and then the weird moth thing. During that period of time, that experience you said where you could hear people, that was happening. Like I could hear people ask, and then I also had this experience where I had these beings coming to me every night, like trying to pull me out of my body. And I was like fighting not to leave because I don't know what these fuckers are. You know what I mean? I don't know what they're going to do to me. I was terrified. You know what I mean? I was like, I'm not leaving my body with you weirdos. So, I mean, I didn't trust them.
Wise.
Yeah, I didn't know who they were. I didn't know what they were doing. And they also were creepy. You know what I mean? They were all robed and creepy and they weren't asking me, hey, do you want to come out? No, they were just trying to yank me out of my body. And I was like learning all these techniques, how to stay in my body, like, how to wake myself up, by doing slight movements and things like that. But so I kind of had a little bit of, I don't normally try to get out of my body too much, but I think people do it a lot and they don't even realize it when they're sleeping.
Yes.
I think they do it all the time and don't really.
I think so too.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's what my cat was trying to show me, that
probably
we're both like leaving
in this other realm
during our sleep. And then we don't come back with consciousness really of it. Sometimes we do.
Sometimes, but not always. Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm starting to think, I could bring up this slide thing again. My perception of this is that we may not be conscious of the soul, or we might be conscious of the soul. And I think that's what they're talking about. Awakening is what, when they say people wake up spiritually, right? I think they're waking up to whatever the message or essence of their soul may be.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And so some people will be conscious of it and some won't, because it's this whole thing, like if you've had brain trauma or these other kinds of things, and then start to have personality changes, exhibit a different kind of consciousness. I'm starting to think that consciousness itself is tied to physical matter and the soul is not.
I think that's true. I think it's like that combination that I was shown between like your body has a consciousness, your soul has a consciousness, and then there's something that happens when you're in body that's sort of like a synergistic thing where your soul and your body create this personality. And that personality lives on. Hey, hello, ladies.
3D braining and 2D land. I love it.
3D braining and 2D land. Yeah.
Welcome.
Yeah. I mean, I mean, how it really works, there's so many different theories about it and so many different ways people talk about it that it gets all confused, I feel like, too. Religious people talk about it one way, scientists talk about it another way. And also people miss, like, what's the difference between the spirit and the soul? I've asked myself that question for years. I've never gotten a clear answer what the difference really is for people.
I think the soul may be more individual and the spirit is many.
Interesting. Okay.
And like so you could have a consciousness of both, but because I think everybody here, we're all in the same spirit family in a way. It kind of brings us together, but we have individual souls.
Right. So you think of spirit as being more collective, kind of like a collective consciousness kind of.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And even that has the different levels, like what you were talking about, collective consciousness. Because I think you've got like the lower consciousness of just whatever you're listening to on media and acting out that way. And the median, maybe the teachers of it, and then the higher collective, which would be like, I don't know, they call them Akashic records or whatever. That's kind of how I look at it.
Right.
As I'm sorting all of this out. I mean, I certainly don't.
It's hard.
Know,
yeah. I mean, yeah. It's hard to really, I mean, I guess you could say that, I mean, there's that. Did you ever read any Rupert Sheldrake's kind of stuff or know much about his theories? The morphic resonance thing. He wrote a thing about morphic resonance, which was, he was a scientist. He's like he was friends with, the ethnobotanist guy who Terence McKenna, and he basically started like researching into so his stuff is a lot about that energy, like the collective energy between species. And there was a story about these monkeys that were isolated on these different islands. They each were on islands.
Yes.
And and they used to pick the seeds out of the sand and eat the seeds all day long. That's because they were trying to separate the seeds from the sand. And one day, one of the scientists were watching this happen. As this discovery was made, this female monkey just went and took a handful of sand and seeds and went to the water and just went like that and started picking all the seeds off of it. And then they noticed simultaneously, they went to the other islands and all of the monkeys were doing that. And it really freaked them out. Like they were really weirded out by that. Like, how did all these monkeys decide to do that right after this one monkey came up with that idea? And so that and other stories like that, and also like collective things. Yes, consciousness is kind of, the theory is that consciousness, like special consciousness, is sort of like kind of like it's its own body in a way, like so that all human beings have a collective consciousness together. All monkeys have one, all zebra have one. And that's why you see in the humans, like where like Ford and Mercedes both invented the car at the same exact time, so that neither one can really get a patent for it. This happens all the time. Or even books, like you'll come up with an idea for a book, and then somebody else will already be writing it, or you'll think of a movie, or somebody will write one movie and then another movie comes out, it's the exact same movie. Like, do you remember when Truman came out?
I went to a screenwriters conference, and this was the guy that taught it. He wrote some story about the little Buddha or something. It was like in the 80s. And anyway, all of us that were in there at that screenwriters conference were all writing the movie Ghost. We were all writing that movie. I even had Whoopi Goldberg in it.
Oh my God. That's so weird.
And it was like, so whatever this was, it was all
it needed to be told.
A collective consciousness at the same time.
Right. It's kind of like somebody, who knows how it works. Either somebody's tuning into something that needs to come through, or somebody comes up with it and it pops into the sort of collective consciousness. He doesn't really know exactly, but he also started realizing that people have psychic experiences often with their close relatives. They might know somebody's going to call them or something like that. Right. And he thought of that as like the morphic resonance got like more intense between people that knew each other. And it's he called it morphic resonance, basically, that there's like this resonant field that, you know, the closer you are to someone, the more tuned in you are to them, but that we're all kind of tuned into each other, if that makes sense.
It does. And if you even observe like insects, like ants or clouds of grasshoppers, they all seem to act like they have a shared consciousness.
Yeah, they do.
So
yeah, they do. Yeah.
So,
yeah, they do.
So,
like the hive mind. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that might be
what she said. Yeah, hive mind.
Exactly.
No, don't be sorry.
It's true, and I think that this is part of why our media consumption, all that stuff. It's important to kind of watch, because I didn't know. Denise brought up last time that all you have to do is be told something 3 times and believe it.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And so if you're listening to something constantly, it becomes a part of your identity and like a collective consciousness of that type of thing. So
it becomes real in your mind, like it's a real thing. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So we can pick up where we were. But so last time we were talking about, so where is consciousness, trying to understand it. We were talking about comas and brain injuries. And so the last couple points were transplants. I don't have a lot there, and reincarnation.
Oh, yeah, that's really fascinating too.
Right.
Yeah.
And the reincarnation thing, I think that goes more into the soul thing. The consciousness thing, I'm starting to think has to do with, and the reason I think that these transplant people.
Yes. That's also really, really, I tried to write a screenplay about that. Somebody who got a heart transplant and then, you know, their personality changed. But yeah, that is a documented thing that happens, where people remember their family if they had a heart transplant, like all the emotions really seem to be stored there. So these ideas we have about the body that are ancient kind of seem to be accurate in a lot of ways, you know?
I think you're right. And so, and in this story, you know, this guy developed a extreme fear of water after getting a heart from a girl that had drowned.
Wow.
And a man he developed an intense interest in cycling after receiving a heart transplant from a cyclist.
Wow.
And so, you know, and I don't judge what people eat. This is not where I'm coming from, but I have to tell you, when I quit eating meat and then I ate it again for a while, I had so many nightmares because I was experiencing and seeing what these animals were experiencing as they died, and the trauma of it. And so it kind of makes sense when I'm reading this, that if you're like physically whatever, where you pick up things psychically on a physical level,
psychometry.
Yes, I think that's why I can't do it, because I have nightmares from it. And so these, you know, and there are countless stories. They came up with some statistics. NIH is studying this.
Right.
89% of the people
have huge.
A change in their personality or whatever after having a
that's really transplant. Insane. That's a huge number of people. It's like most of them.
It is. And now the New York Post wrote that, but they base it on these studies that are coming out of NIH that, you know, I mean, these aren't tinfoil hat kind of people at NIH that are making these observations. And so you really do have, I mean, I'm signed up to be a donor of organs, you know, we've got a thing through our state. But then again, I don't know if I'd want to inflict that on anyone if they turn it to me or whatever.
I feel a weird, like, kind of, I know. I feel a strange, like, it seems like a good idea as like a spare part, but it's not really just a spare part. It does have memory, and it's like cellular memory, and what part of you is in that and what part of you isn't. It's a really interesting question, you know, because I mean, it kind of goes to that thing what I was talking about last week with the, you know, the lower, middle, and higher self. Like the lower self, the physical body has its own memories and trajectory. And I used to think like DNA, the RNA was the code that was going to be come late. Like, how is it that musicality runs in families or painting? That's not a natural thing. You know what I'm saying? It's not like monkeys go around painting or something like that. So there must be something about somebody doing something over and over again that gets written into the gene code and gets passed down, right? And they recently have found that to be the case, that you do write. There is like a writing process in the DNA, like your behavior starts to change your DNA, you know, and it does get passed down. It's sort of in the same vein as your body, your cells have memory or something like that of your experiences. But you could also like pick up a stone, like a crystal, and it has like a vibe about it. And you know what I mean? Or like a old watch and get a feeling. So everything kind of ends up kind of having energy sort of infused in it. And to what degree is that just part of the nature of all things? And what is the difference in an organ, and how much does it really absorb is the question. You know what I mean?
Well, you know, we were talking on the show last Saturday nights is more light. You know, we're going through the states on different like weird phenomena in every state, whether it's cryptoids or UFOs or haunted houses. And we were talking about Colorado last Saturday. And there was a park in Denver where there had been a very old graveyard there. And I mean, acres and acres.
Wow.
But it was unkempt, and they decided they got a federal permission, I guess, to even do that. And so they tore up this old graveyard.
Wow.
And told the families that were around, you've got 90 days to put these bodies where you want. If not,
oh no, that's terrible.
So the story about it was that, now I think that this work was done like in the early 1900s. And so horrible stories, you know, where they're just ripping these up, just smashing up what's left of these bodies and throwing them in little things and taking it out to the potter's field. Well, there's a persistent legend there now, and a lot of ghost hunters go out there because there's a lot of ghostly activity that goes on there. So I was asking the guys, like, what creates this? You know, why would there? I mean, if you're a spirit, wouldn't you rather hang out in your mansion than at a graveyard?
Yeah, or why would moving the graves or disturbing the grave disturb your spirit? You know what I mean? If you're moving on. Yeah.
And so I was starting to wonder is, well, maybe it's because of this consciousness that stored in things, you know, because they talk about like Native American burial grounds too, that if you move this stuff around, so how much is stored in skeletons or bones? I mean, I don't know. I could be way out there with that. But I was trying to figure that out. Like, why all of a sudden do you have like spirit activity when you start moving graves around?
Right. I'm wondering if it's like that whole thing. I mean, even like ghosts too are a phenomena that's kind of strange too, because you know, the consciousness really should move on out of this plane of existence, and why some entities or people stick around a certain area. Maybe they feel unfinished business, but after 100 years, I mean, why are you still here? I mean, you know, it can't be unfinished business. So, you know, and there's stories of like ghosts in Japan that like are been around for like 1,000 years or some crazy thing like that. So it makes you think that, you know, again, it's not the whole consciousness that's like left behind. It's like some part of the consciousness splitting off, you know what I mean? Like the lower self, because in there's certain old ideas, shamanic ideas, where when you pass, your lower self sort of splits from your higher self, and your lower self goes back to the ancestors. It goes and hangs out with the ancestors. So the part of the body consciousness goes back to its, you know, kind of in this, I don't really understand it totally, but this is an idea. And then your consciousness, the part that's sort of gamed out, the middle part where it's your personality in this life. You know, Robert Monroe talked about that. He thought that basically what happened was when we die, you know, that consciousness continues on, that middle consciousness, but it just sort of lives in this sort of middle space. And then your other piece, that's the eternal part, gets reincarnated. So you kind of, your spirit guides are probably your other lifetimes kind of helping you out, you know, which makes sense to me. So, because I was like, why would there be like a spirit guide? Like, who wants to help me out? Like, what's so special about me? Like some rando, like, why? That doesn't make sense to me. Like, why would somebody waste their time servicing me. You know what I mean? So, but it does make sense if it's another alter personality of your, like, you know, how people have split personalities. It's like another personality
Right.
of yours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I wondered about that. And some of these split personalities, I was thinking we might even pull some of that up for next week, because I mean, it's so profound, the differences that they have. And
Yes.
even their speaking, and you know, I've
Some of
wondered
the
about
stories-
that too.
Yeah, and some of the stories of the split personalities, like one of the personalities will have weird psychic abilities that are like
Yes.
really extreme, you know, and the other ones don't, which is also weird as well. Like, how did that happen? You know, which makes me think that like a lot of psychic experiences and things like that don't really come from, I mean, yeah, there may be a certain amount of biological thing, but I think a lot of it comes from, like you said, being aware of spirit and kind of being centered in that, you know what I'm saying? And kind of that kind of consciousness, because it's sort of outside of time space, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And for
Yeah.
me, rarely do I get there, but that's the whole point for me of meditation, is to try
Right.
to get to
Get
that
out of
higher perception,
Right,
you
right.
know. And then every once in a while you see other things, you know, when you do that. But you know, it's hit or miss for me, but I do the best I can.
I think everybody is like that. It's not
Okay, so I
easy
see. All right, so I see Kathy has got private chat. Sorry, Kathy, I didn't see those before because I'm monitoring the public chat. So if you want to join us, Kathy, just turn your camera on or something, and you could do so. And everyone else, I put the StreamYard link if you want to join by video.
Oh, there's other, okay. Hello,
Yeah,
ladies.
so there's like the public that you could see what's going on in the live stream, and the private one. But it never lights up until the show's over. Then I see, oh, there were all these private chats there. Okay,
That's funny.
I'm not being rude, you know. It just, I don't see them unless I think to look. So this guy is. This is the University of Virginia, and they really got, you know, when you see university level stuff talking about reincarnation and studying that using the scientific method, I take that stuff quite seriously.
Yeah, same.
This Dr. Stevenson, now when did he die? Recently, right? He died though. But he had started this, he studied 3,000 children and documented, you know, and one of his books he's famous for is 20 cases suggestive of reincarnation. Again, because he's a doctor and trained, he says suggestive, not there is.
Right.
But you know, there were people that were challenging some of his work, and then he shot right back at him. This is how it was done, and then they backed off because he truly was being completely unbiased in these studies.
Right.
And so his work has been published in the American Journal of Psychiatry, British Journal of Psychiatry, British Journal of Medical Psychology, Journal of Nervous and Mental Disease, and several others. And these journals would not republish something if it was just like woo. You know?
Right.
So he was pretty impressive. Now here's one of his stories. And then, so one of the stories, and I remember seeing a documentary about this little girl in India. She was 3 years old, and she was speaking of a past life in a town about 100 miles away. And she gave very detailed descriptions of her home that she lived in, the family members, daily life. And so when brought to the town, she correctly identified her past life family, recounted intimate details. All of this was confirmed. So she had remembered her immediate life before then. And so that's one of the examples that comes out of his book of 20 cases and suggestive of reincarnation. And as kids, did you guys remember past lives at all, or?
Yeah.
No.
I mean, I've had past life dreams, but
Fascinating.
yeah. Do you remember any of those?
The only one that was real strong for me was about this church. And where I grew up in northern Wisconsin, there were different Indian reservations around there. And during summer vacation, we got to go stay with the grandparents. And I was insistent that they take me to the church, on the Indian church that had a cat and a mouse over the door. I
Wow.
was, and so we must have gone to every church on the res, and there was no such thing. So years go by, I'd moved to Dallas, and I get this postcard from my paternal grandmother, and she goes, "I think I found your cat and mouse," and by then I'd forgotten about it. It's
Sure.
in my
Sure.
20s, you don't think about it constantly. And she said, "You need to go see this place." So let me see if Kathy's sound is. If the sound's weird, I'll mute you. Hi, Kath. Go see this place. So let me see if Kathy's sound is.
Yeah.
In here?
Hi, Kath.
I
Yes.
don't know. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
We can hear you, but you're playing,
You have
so
an
it's
echo.
creating an echo. So I muted you for now. So if you turn off whatever's playing, it will
Yeah.
echo. So we could hear you fine. So turn off whatever else you were watching. If you have YouTube open at the same time, it's creating an echo.
Seems like it's better. Okay. All right.
Yeah. So I flew out from Dallas to go to this place because it was like, oh, yeah, I remember this. And it's down by Tucson, and it's called White Dove. It's actually now I can't remember. I'm kind of tired. I can't remember the name of this place, but it's near Tucson. As I was driving up, after renting a car from the airport, flying out from Dallas to go there, I could see just this white, beautiful, like jewel of the desert kind of thing. And I just started crying uncontrollably. It was like,
Wow.
I knew this place. So then I go down there, and there's an old Spanish mission.
Wow.
And when you walk up to the front of it, sure enough, there's a cat and mouse over the door.
Wow.
Now, how many churches does anyone know of that has a cat or a mouse?
I don't know any church that has cat and
The
mouse.
legend is when the cat and mouse reach one another, the world will end. So they do a lot of like renovation and stuff like that on this church. It used to be called the Papago Reservation. Now it's the Tohono O'odham Reservation. So anyway, I go in there, and I was just shook up. I mean, I could feel everything about this place, and they were giving tours. And I said, I was talking to the guide, and I said, no, that one doesn't belong here. This piece was brought from another one. What's missing? There should be this ornament here. Everything was like dyed from the plants, and the natives had built this.
Right.
And I mean, I was very infused with that church. And so now, like, if somebody I know is in a lot of trouble, I don't say anything. I just drive down to Tucson, and I'll go light candles or whatever, because it's like a power spot for me. And
Right.
so that's like, now I don't remember anything about what I did.
What you
I
did,
must
yeah.
have been native. I was relating the natives to it. So maybe I was one of the natives that worked on it.
Maybe so. Yeah.
And, but yeah, it's still a power spot for me. So if somebody's sick, that's what I do. I just don't say anything, go down, light a candle, and things seem to work down there.
Right.
And,
my
and
brother
I'm not a practicing Catholic now, but there's a power in those Catholic churches.
Yeah, I agree. They're usually built on other temple kind of energy places too. That's what they did, the Catholics. They usually built it on some other sacred ground.
Yeah.
Like Sacré-Cœur in Paris is on an old Dionysian temple. But that story you said, my brother had an experience like that. It wasn't that spiritual, but he was on a tour with my husband, and they went to like some Canadian island. I think it was, I can't remember which one, off the coast, the west coast of Canada. And they went to this venue, and he's like, I used to live here. And he started talking about how this wall was not here and this wall was there and this, and they're like, yep, that's right. It was changed and everything. And he's like, yeah, he remembered living in this place. And that was a spontaneous memory in his 20s of like some other lifetime. Yeah.
And so when people are younger, they remember, especially children will remember.
Yeah, especially children.
Because I remembered some other ones that I won't talk about publicly, but that one with the cat and the mouse was really cool. And how it just affected me emotionally was just unexpected. I did not expect that at all. And so there's something about Arizona. I feel a vibe here. I probably was
Right. Well, maybe that's why you're back there too. So maybe
Yeah.
there was some reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So did you remember any, Bo, from when you were a child, like any kind of strong?
No, I have no. I mean, I'm sitting here and I'm thinking and thinking.
Have you resonated to Hawaii?
No.
When I first met you, I saw you as a male living on the island of Hawaii.
Interesting.
That
was many years ago, and it was just like, that's what I thought.
A flash, right?
Like, yeah, it
Right.
was just like there was no reason to think that. So that's why I asked if you had remembered anything, or if you resonate to the Hawaiian culture.
I'll be honest. I am under the belief, I guess it is a belief now, that my physical density is the barrier between me being able to connect on a psychic level.
Your physical, what do you mean, Bo?
My size.
Oh, no.
No, it's not.
No.
And in fact, that's what you were fighting in Hawaii, what I saw.
And
but
I
in the
knew
male
that.
form. And so it's like, no, it's not a barrier. And a lot of times people gain weight as a psychic protection. I know when I
they do that a lot. Yeah.
I
A lot
used
of
to
psychics
smoke.
get heavy. Yeah.
And it is. It's because you empath things, you pick up
Right.
energy. And I don't know, I was some book from the 1800s, you know how they had all the like occult stuff that was coming out back then. And I used to smoke. And it was talking about a lot of people who are sensitive, especially when they were younger, would smoke because they don't know what this is. So it creates like this filters. You're not taking everything on.
Well, yeah,
And
it's a protective kind of thing too. It has tobacco has sort of a sacred thing about it, even if people don't misuse it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and it's like when you go to Indian ceremonies, a lot of times you bring cigarettes, you bring tobacco.
Right.
And
right.
I think they appreciate the purer form of it now, but still it is a thing. And but I have noticed that people who are extremely empathic will sometimes gain weight because they're taking on, and you're always helping people, Bo. Stop taking on their issues, you'll lose some weight. Guarantee you. I mean, I don't want to sound like Louise Hay because that's not what it's
right. Louise Hay.
I do,
but it is. It's like whenever I saw you in this Hawaii thing, it was some kind of almost like a priestly sort of. I don't know what medicine men are called in Hawaii, but it was like some sort of thing like taking on stuff and healing. And so when you do that, you'll take it on physically. So watch that.
That's
just
where
play
I'm at
with it.
Right now, this minute, I am weighted down with other people's shit because I went in, and my empath brought me into a situation, and now I'm just like trying to shake it off. I gotta get, and I'm sleeping and sleeping and sleeping. Hoping it'll be.
Yeah.
But
do you notice a weird?
I'm hearing somebody is echoing somewhere, and I don't know where it's coming from.
There's some kind of strange thing that happened as soon as you started saying that. It's like it broke, the sound broke, and like it's something really strange. That must be that's kind of a psychic thing in itself.
No idea
what like that, and then it went. It started getting really weird.
Yeah. I don't think my AI is turning my computers on today. But
wow, it's just me and a fan.
Well, can you hear it? It's really hard. It's like it's strange.
Crunchy. Try this one.
Yeah, crunchy and weird.
Okay, do you hear it? Okay,
like
so
distortion.
I can still hear it.
Yeah, it's distortion. It's like a distortion.
It stopped.
It stopped.
Yes.
It was coming from me somewhere.
I think it Bo, when she said it, started talking and she said that and went like that, it was like it just started like distorting and then you were doing, and then yours was doing that too. But I don't know if mine
Kathy,
is. I don't hear it.
Say something now.
Who? Me?
Kathy.
Kathy.
I have no sound.
We can hear
I thought
you.
it fixed it, but
She
it went away.
She
She
sounds
sounds
weird.
good this time.
She
You
does.
sound really good.
She did?
All right.
She sounded weird to me. That's weird.
Oh,
Sounded
okay.
distorted. Do I sound distorted or no?
No, you sound great.
Weird. Okay.
Okay, so, whoops, I didn't mean to. So they're continuing this study. That sound is coming from me, and I don't know why.
Yeah, it's something happened. It's like a distortion. It might be kind of like a slight feedback thing happening.
How am I doing now?
Yeah, still there.
How's this?
No, it's still there.
It's minimal though. No.
Yours is still really bad though. Yeah.
Oh, it's coming from you too, bro.
Yeah, it's both of you guys. I don't know what happened there. Do you think it might be related to the fires? Like maybe it's something to do.
I'm wondering if it has something to
It
do
could be
with-
an internet problem from the fires. Like you can almost smell them. I bet it is that. I bet something is going on with the internet, the local internet in your area is probably unstable or something like that. Because so did she, Kathy had it as well. She lives in that area too, right?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
anyway, UVA, they're still studying. This is not good though. Let me see.
Quantum physics shows that at
Yeah,
the most
Can you
basic
read that
level,
when I turn
yeah, I'll
this
read
off?
it. UVA psychiatrist Jim Tucker continues to investigate children's claims of past lives. Quantum physics shows that at the most basic level of the universe, events involving its smallest particles, such as electrons and protons, only occur once they are observed. This suggests that the material world may be derived from consciousness, not the other way around. Although that idea is debated by many, it is a belief that has been shared by a number of quantum physicists, including Max Planck. If consciousness creates the material world, then it may not be dependent upon that world to exist. It would follow that consciousness does not depend on a living being to exist. If consciousness doesn't require a brain, it may continue after the brain stops working. It could then get attached to a new brain and continue on in another life. That's exactly right. Okay, so this James Leninger, USA, a young boy from Louisiana, James, began having intense nightmares. I know this story of being in World War II. A pilot shot down over Japan. He named the aircraft Corsair, the ship Natoma, and even a few fellow pilot. His family eventually identified a real pilot, James Huston Jr., whose biography matched James' statements in extraordinary detail. The case was investigated by Dr. Jim Tucker, who continued Stevenson's reincarnation research. Yeah, I've heard that story. That's a really fascinating story. It really is.
Yeah, I've seen. I don't know if you can hear me now. Am I there?
Very
Is it
distorted.
making noise?
Yeah. Distorted. Yeah.
You guys talk.
I feel the need to apologize. It's my fault, damn it. It's my fault.
It's not your fault. It's not your fault. It's not your fault. It's maybe that, I think it just tells you that you do actually have psychic ability and power, I think, right? You got upset that it happened, but it's probably also a coincidence. I have a feeling that it might be something going on with your area, with the internet, with the
Right.
fires. Yeah, because it's doesn't seem like it's affecting my side of it, and my internet was unstable last time, but now it seems stable. Yours just might be having some kind of problem processing because of some of the wiring going down there or something like that, getting burnt up or something. I don't know. The internet is a weird thing.
Yeah.
It's
Yes.
very strange. It's got a mind of its own, it seems like. Especially on this show. There's always something is happening. Every week there's some weird technical thing. Okay,
I almost
Benjamin.
did it from the office this time just because I had a feeling it would do this again.
Really? It's crazy. It like every week there's something weird. Okay, Benjamin Franklin, I look upon death to be as necessary to our constitution as sleep. We shall
just
rise
want
refreshed in the
people-
morning. Huh.
I just to show that it's not that fringe to believe in reincarnation. You know,
Not at all.
we have
No.
Benjamin Franklin, Henry Ford, Carl Jung, Sylvester Stallone, George Patton, Shirley MacLaine, who knew that,
John Lennon.
Mark Twain, Thomas Edison, and Steve Jobs.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
just a handful of them. So
Yeah. It just makes sense if you think about it. It just makes a lot of sense. The Dr. Fauci of the 1918 Spanish. Oh my
Wow.
God. He does look like him.
Yes.
Same recent layperson speculates. Huh. Some recent layperson speculates. Wow,
Yeah,
that is
this
really
guy-
weird. Thomas
this is-
Dyer Tuttle. Yeah.
this is from Forbes magazine.
Wow.
And what's interesting, I've got a chart on the next thing about how similar. Whoops.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Okay.
Leo.
Somebody read this, and I'm going to mute myself. So just
Okay, Tuttle versus Fauci, a century apart yet strikingly similar. Public role, Health Commissioner of Washington during Spanish flu, Dr. Tuttle. Fauci, Director of NIAID, what my eyesight's not that great. Chief Medical Advisor during COVID-19. Educational background, Columbia Medical School. Dr. Dyer Tuttle went to. And then Fauci went to Cornell Medical School. Experience in epidemics, Dr. Tuttle, smallpox, Spanish flu, post-war influenza. Dr. Fauci, HIV, AIDS, SARS, Ebola, COVID-19. Public pushback, fired for pushing through mandates. Faced protests, that's so weird. And Fauci, targeted politically, faced misinformation campaigns. Communication style, straightforward, publicly issued health bulletins. And then Fauci, frequent press briefings, interviews, and scientific clarity. Yeah, that's very similar. Weird.
Isn't that crazy? And they even look kind of like each other.
They do. Yeah, that's very strange. Yeah, very, very weird.
Well, this one was in your Substack. People subscribe to Denise's Substack.
Yeah, my Substack. I didn't really notice it. My husband picked up it, like went on, like just looked at the Pope Leo before him and did some research. And then he showed me like, oh my God, they have the same look in their face and they have a similar vibe, you know? And then when I looked at their astrology, they're very similar. They're like two sides of the same coin in a way. So yeah, I wonder if, and people said about him, Pope Leo, that when he was a little kid, he used to play priest, which people are like, oh, well, that's probably normal for a Roman Catholic family. No, it's not normal. And he wasn't in a big Catholic family. He only has two brothers. His family was Catholic, but they were like Catholic, like a lot of people, which is not that Catholic. They were Catholic.
Christmas and Easter.
Yeah, they weren't really diehard crazy Catholics.
Right.
They were just normal Catholics. So it was weird that he was doing that. His brothers made fun of him and called him Pope all the time and then of course now he's the Pope. It's pretty strange.
That's incredible.
It's pretty weird, right? If memories, language, and identity can be. Oh, what was your thing gonna say? Okay.
Kind of basically what we've been at. Am I still making noise?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's still distorted. Oh, Bo, your sound's a little bit better, I think.
Oh, I didn't know I was having a problem.
Oh, it's better a little bit. Yeah.
I'm usually the first to know I'm having a problem.
Yeah, it's messed up for some reason. How bad are the fires now? Do you guys? You said there was like 6,000 acres.
I'm the closest to them. Kathy is too. So
Really?
it was a little over 6,000 acres when I
Wow.
left office. So
How do you find out the information about what's going on there? Is there a website that you go to see what's going on, or?
yeah, they kind of have it on Facebook or go to our local news. It's WMI Central, White Mountain Independent Central. So,
Wow.
well, I am so sorry I'm making noises like this.
It's so crazy. Dang, incarnated with the same job. It's funny.
Well, we
Yeah.
did our hour anyway. This is Denise. You look radiant today.
Oh, really?
Something
I don't.
You do. You just look really good. Doesn't she?
Oh,
though?
thanks.
She's just like glowing.
Oh, well, that's probably the lighting. Probably the lighting.
She's got all 3 cells there today. You look good too, Bob. You know, this is such an interesting. What should we talk about next time?
We could probably talk about this for a year and probably continue talking about it. It's so expansive, but I don't know. Whatever you guys want to talk about.
Can we? I would be interested, because I know I'm not the only one who's watching and listening who isn't tuned in to other levels, and I would be interested in resources and exercises to, to be
Learn how to do that.
Deborah has said, both is more intuitive than she knows. And I know that Deborah is correct, but I can't find the awareness. Do you know what I'm saying? I can't identify it.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah. Well, the first thing to do, I think, is to listen to that little voice when it talks to you and just pay attention to it and don't dismiss it. I think a lot of people just go, that's just my imagination. Or they just kind of go, I don't want to listen to that. But you probably just do that all the time. You don't really listen to yourself. That's what I think a lot of it is the way people are trained to, to dismiss themselves, or I think a lot of it has to do with family stuff, maybe feeling like you have to fill a role. And like she was saying, you're always helping other people. And sometimes when you fall into those kinds of things, even if you know it's going to be bad for you, you're going to go, I can't listen to that voice. I'm going to do it anyway, right?
Yes.
And you have to listen to the voice. And the more you listen to the voice, the more it gets stronger inside of you. And it's your spirit, like talking to you, telling you what is not really in your best interest. So it won't be that loud if you don't listen to it. It'll be like, well, she's not going to listen to me. So
sometimes it's just like, get out of your environment where you are. Some people are afraid to be alone. I don't know if you are or not. A lot of times I will go rent a cabin somewhere by myself. Don't tell anyone. And you can really cut it when you're not around your familiars or people know where you are. Sometimes that makes a big difference.
Being on your own, not having like
journal that,
having some space to hear yourself think and feel your feelings. Yeah.
And doing art is, I know you're creative. Art to me is the gateway.
Yeah. Create anything creative. Like I thought you're knitting. All that's good for getting in touch with your intuition. I think you're probably all the time just rejecting it. That's my intuition about you. You know what's going on. You just don't listen to it.
I love you, Denise.
Well,
thank you.
You're welcome.
And you know more. You know just as much, if not more, than anyone else. You're just as psychic. Everybody has a spirit and a soul.
Right. Everybody
different
knows.
ways of expressing it. That's all.
Yeah. You're just probably denying yourself or not having faith in yourself, I think is the key. You know what I mean? Not having faith in yourself. Yeah. It's more about, I think for you, it's probably not your intuition. It's probably your patterning, like the things that you're kind of like, you feel like you have to do for other people and take on other people's stuff and not really pay attention to yourself. Your self-denial kind of thing, that stuff. You know what I mean?
Yes, I do, actually.
Yeah.
I do. Thank you.
Yeah. You're welcome.
Well, that's why we're here.
Somebody was asking what the Pope, the last Pope, and then this Pope, they both are interested in workers' rights, and they have the same agenda. They both have the same agenda, so that's why he picked that name. Bove lives where? What does Kate say? What is Kate asking? If Bove lives where?
Where you live, Bo? You there, Bo?
Sure.
Yeah.
Somebody
She lives in
wants
the.
to live.
Oh, I'm typing back to her because she's typing. It doesn't occur to me that she can hear me.
Yeah, she lives in Arizona. They all live in Arizona. I'm the only odd man out. That's why my voice doesn't sound all crazy.
That's why
Yeah.
she's radiant today.
Yeah.
Okay. I think I'm going to close this out if I'm making weird noise, but this was very interesting. I want to thank you for being here tonight.
Yeah, no, it was fun. It's always fun. It's always good to see you.
I love
Yeah.
being with you guys and talking about this.
Yeah,
stuff.
Sam, it's really fun. Yeah, I love it.
And thank you, people who have joined us tonight. And so we'll see you next Wednesday. And have a wonderful week.
Yeah,
All right.
have a good one.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks so much for joining us. We love hearing your stories, so tell your friends so they can join the party. For show notes and our forum of high strangeness, visit cosmicfold.com. Remember, Cosmic Fold airs live on Wednesday and Saturday nights, so be sure to subscribe and click the notification bell to know when we're on air. Thanks again and have a great evening.